now, Optimus Prime, in memory of the Decepticons, for the glory of the Predacons, for the Cybertron that is rightfully ours, and mine to rule. I unleash the storm of vengeance. Farewell. Goodbye to the universe, maximals. The future has changed. Yes, the Autobots lose. Evil triumphs. And you no longer exist.
And it's with this speech that the Beast Wars is ended. Megatron ends space and time forever. At least we would have thought so until the third season comes along. But what we're looking at today is, what if the Beast Wars ended at this point? What if Megatron won the Beast Wars? From destroying Optimus Prime, the ripple effects that would have to not only the human race on Earth, but the Cybertronian race as well. We're going to ask today, what happens if Megatron wins the Beast Wars? Let's find out on the other side of the Matrix.
Side of the Matrix.
So for the sake of the timeline, we're going to pick it up from where Season 2 of the Beast Wars finishes, and the ultimate shot, the ultimate ending, that is Megatron putting all power in his primary weapon and taking out Optimus Prime, and ultimately winning the Beast Wars and the civil war of the Transformers between the Autobots and Decepticons, and we start to see the fabrics of time unravel. So then, if we're to go along with this theory, what would happen if Megatron destroys Optimus? The Maximals are not there to stop him in time. Optimus Prime does not cease to be, does not wake up in 1984. The Decepticons presumably do, and then subsequently go on to win the war of the Transformers. You could argue that it doesn't even get to Earth. You could argue that maybe, with no Optimus Prime, the Autobots and the Decepticons don't leave Cybertron. The Civil War is crushed very quickly by the Decepticon uprising. But let's start off with some key facts. You'll notice from the end of the episode in Season 2 of Beast Wars that Megatron himself is unchanged. He does not cease to be, and that is quite telling. So, the Predacons, the descendants of the Decepticons, are somewhat unfazed by this. I think that is quite telling. But no Optimus Prime, no Autobot resistance, no Autobot fighting back to the Decepticon uprising, and therefore no descendants, no Maximals. The Maximals completely cease to be. So there's no Maximals. Their time on Earth, even though it's back in time, doesn't happen. Even though they've gone through trans-warp and they've gone back to a prehistoric Earth where, admittedly, the Autobots and Decepticons have crashed before them, millennia before, they have not surfaced, they have not carried out their acts, which leads to the Predacons and the Maximals taking place. But think about it from this way. If there is no Autobot force to fight the Decepticons on Earth, let's say the Decepticons conquer Cybertron, Megatron, Generation 1 Megatron, his master plan works, and the conquering of the galaxy takes place, and Earth is no exception. Prehistoric Earth would ultimately become modern day Earth, and even if 1984 comes round, Megatron will probably be there long before to make it another planet under his control. The Predacons, however, that's a different story. Now they can very well still be there, but they're born out of the Decepticons who themselves were defeated by the Autobots. So, do the Predacons even exist? The fact that Beast Wars Megatron exists would indicate that they do. But if there is no Decepticon defeat, do the Predacons exist? Does it roll into that, or does the Decepticon dynasty just carry on? Does Predacon Megatron even exist? Or does he exist as a Decepticon? Are we then going to see, dare I say, a civil war? Another one? A old guard versus new? Or the fact that there is no Autobot uprising? The fact that there is no civil war of Autobots and Decepticons? If there is no Optimus Prime, there is effectively no Autobots. The fact that you're only left with Decepticons to fight really whoever is left. The Transformers as a race seem to be drawn to war. Could it be an old versus new? Could it be Decepticons versus Predacons? Megatron a la Megatron. And that could be all that's left. And it really is quite bleak. And I've said before that I think that Generation 1 Megatron is the most important character, but by the same token, you could argue that Optimus is as well. You need a yin to the yang, and if there is no Optimus, there is no Autobots, just like with no Megatron, there is no Decepticons. If there is no uprising, if there's nothing to defend against the uprising, then there is no war, and something has to take its place. So where does Beast Wars Megatron win in this? And that's a tricky point. If we're going back in time to change the events, to secure an agenda, a long-term agenda for Beast Wars Megatron, how does he win? How does he secure galactic control over a Generation 1 Megatron? If anything, he is doing Generation 1 Megatron a favour. Beast Wars Megatron is helping Generation 1 Megatron out by winning the war for the Decepticons, which ultimately secures Beast Wars Megatron's future. But how does he come out ahead in this? And that is the tricky point with this. That is the sticking point. I wonder if the Beast Wars Megatron doesn't disappear when time effectively gets fragmented in the beginning, like the Maximals do. Does Beast Wars Megatron still exist in a Decepticon Predacon world? But maybe not as he realises. Do we see a slip up at this point? Does Beast Wars Megatron miscalculate? Is he not the grand leader? Is it still going to be a Generation 1 Megatron ruling the roost? And where does Unicron fit into this? And we can go two ways with Unicron. So, Unicron 1986, big, yellow, awesome worlds. You know the one. He's going to appear. He's going to destroy all worlds. The only thing that wins out is the matrix of leadership, and we're back to that hard reset, seeming Unicron is the harbinger of death and has to be defeated for the chapter to be cleared. How does that work with no Maximals, no Beast Wars, no Autobots, and only the Decepticons? Is it just the end of it all? But also, in Beast Wars terms, what about the Vok, the alien race who take the appearance of Unicron to talk to Optimus Primal? How does that change? Does that change? Are they still going to be just as pissed off with the Predacons as they were with the Maximals as well? Is that alien invasion still going to happen? Because that was one premise of the Beast Wars. There wasn't a Unicron as the alien entity. There was a separate alien entity with still that kind of harbinger of death feel. But there is no banding together of the Maximals and Predacons to deal with that. There's two different paths you can go down there, but two different historical events will still need to take place, just because time is not there. But the Predacons and Decepticons will still exist. Earth will still exist. Prehistoric Earth will still exist. Unicron will still exist. The Vok will still exist. But so many ripple effects are taken from the death of Optimus Prime in this timeline. And what I believe is this. There is no Autobots. The Decepticons ultimately win out Cybertron and start their autocracy race, or their race of evil galactic conquering. There is no Predacons. Why would there be? And this is where I think Beast Wars Megatron makes a rare error. There is no reason for the Decepticons to have descendants. As such, who would be left to challenge them? Other than say, if there's a Unicron, there's no Transformers. Doesn't matter if it's a Predacon, Maximal or otherwise. If there is nothing to stop the Decepticon winning the war, the civil war of the Transformers, why would there be a descendants with Predacons? Why would there be a Beast Wars Megatron? Why would you have a pterosaur, a waspinator, when Megatron, Soundwave, Shockwave are still ruling Cybertron as they would, with no one to oppose them? So I think there could very well be a Megatron Beast Wars descendant who won't be a Predacon, and this is why he lasts out at the very end. And subsequently there would be no Beast Machines. There would be no conquering of it, there would be no return to Cybertron, because why would they have left in the first place? There would be galactic domination, but Cybertron itself would be rejuvenated under Decepticon control. Megatron, Beast Wars Megatron, could be just another lackey in the Decepticon forces, sounding a bit like Generation 1 Megatron, and Beast Wars Megatron could get quite fed up with the current arrangements and start an uprising of his own, starting another civil war. And we have another way of history repeating itself. But there we go, that is a very in-depth and complicated way of finding out what if Megatron wins the Beast Wars really by taking out Optimus Prime. And I do think Beast Wars Megatron makes a rare error here. The fact that he takes out the granddaddy, the life bringer, the fact that the wars and subsequent appearance of other Transformers, taking out Optimus Prime to put himself in that place to win, actually ends up putting Beast Wars Megatron in a place to lose. He doesn't end up being in a place he wants to be. He will not be sitting on the throne ruling the galaxy. Because why would Generation 1 Megatron not be there without an Optimus to deal with him? What do you guys think? Leave a note in the comments below. Do you have an opinion on this one? Do you think the timeline would play out differently if Megatron takes out Optimus Prime in this point? What happens then other than what we see in the TV series? It's a very deep running process. And yes, the TV series tidies it up, maybe. But if we're playing with this timeline, what if Megatron wins the Beast Wars? Maybe not even at this point, but if Megatron wins the Beast Wars at this point, what happens to the Transformers, Earth and Cybertron, or even Unicron, with the ripple effects? How far-reaching does it go? Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you on the next one.